Hello, everyone. Hi, welcome. Welcome, everyone. Wait just a couple of minutes for other people to join, and then we start. For the people that join in the last minutes, welcome. We are just waiting another couple of minutes for other people to join, and then we start. Welcome again, everyone, and good morning. Who's talking is Filippo Chiarello from University of Pisa. I'm an assistant professor here, and you see also Chiara Lelli that will take the floor very soon, PhD students, and Sabrina Tommasi, also from University of Pisa, that helped us in organizing the session this morning. So first of all, I have to bring the apologies of Greta, my colleague from King's College, that had to be co-hosting this event this morning. Unfortunately, she cannot join us this morning, but we managed to change a little bit the agenda so that we will have this hour and a half together, talking and hopefully also discussing together about a topic that is very much of interest for all of us. That is how artificial intelligence is changing the way in which we do research. What we have prepared for you is a lecture divided in three parts. So I now share my screen. And the lecture is, as well as I told, around the topic of generative AI in research, with a focus on three key competencies that we think uh, may help us having a better relationship with this technology. Before we dive into these three key competencies, a little bit of the context in which this talk has been organized. As you know, we are inside the Circle U project. Circle U is a European University Alliance that brings together different universities, and University of Pisa is one of those universities. I strongly suggest all of you, I think that we have PhD students here, researcher, professor. If you don't know the project yet, please go on the website, because there is many things that are done both on the side of organizing events such as this one, and projects that you can apply to, funding for collaboration in between the universities. So please go there and have a look at what is going on in Circle U. And the second, it's an Erasmus Plus project called Details. Is a project coordinated by University of Pisa. And today we are in the Details Living Lab. We have also some people here in presence. Thank you guys for coming in presence this morning. And it's a physical place that we have here in Pisa. So if it happens to be around, don't miss to come here and say hi. So what's the agenda? As I told you, we have three macro competencies. Um, Please, let's not be too keen on this word competencies, because they are something in between. There are also personal characteristics that we will talk about today. They're not just skills and competencies, but anyway, the first one is the importance of balancing trust. So we, as a researcher, when we work with these technologies, we have to find the right balance. And as Chiara will tell you later, is not both having lower trust than the one that we can actually give to these kind of technologies, or an over reliance. Is the word is balancing. So what Chiara has prepared for you, she's doing her PhD on this topic. We will introduce you to the topic, and we also prepared for you a questionnaire that will help you understanding if and how much your relationship with the technology is balanced, and what kind of relationship you have with this technology. With the hope that knowing this, you will use it in your field of research better and more in a more mindful way. The second key competence will be creativity. So how can we use these kind of techniques to be more creative in the work that we do? I always say to my PhD students that one of the fundamental parts that gives value to what we do is our ability to come out with creative research questions. This is the ultimate skill of a researcher, is the ability to find good direction for doing research. Then the way in which we can, it's the PhD is about learning to do this and to follow path once we have identified. But something that we forget many times is how to train ourselves to be creative in finding a good path. And the question that we will try to explore here is, can artificial intelligence, in particular large language models, help us in this phase of identifying opportunities to go? The last key competence is human AI collaboration. And here we have prepared a hands-on activity. So it will be quite an experiment, because we have 145 people connected now. But hopefully the breakout rooms of Teams will work, and you will have the ability to you will have the ability to work together. And for the people in presence, I mean, we hope that you don't fight and that you can collaborate here in presence. So now I leave the floor to Dr. Chiara Lelli. Chiara, if you can share your screen, I will switch off my microphone.
Yes, so you can hear me, I hope. Let me share my screen. Okay, here we are. Where is the picture? Yeah. So, first of all, hi to everyone online and in presence. I am Chiara Lelli. I'm a PhD student at the University of Pisa in the Department of DESTEC. My main focus, the main focus of my PhD is about the impact of artificial intelligence on engineering education, and to be more specific, on trust. So the trust we have in AI and generative AI, to be specific. So today we are going to talk about two elements. The first one is, of course, an introduction on what trust is and why it's important for it to be calibrated. And the second part is the questionnaire that Professor Filippo Chiarello was talking about, that will help you understand what is your current state of trust in generative AI. So first of all, what is trust? Trust is a psychological state comprising the intention to accept vulnerability based on positive expectations of the intentions or behaviors of another, meaning that we accept to be vulnerable in front of someone else or something else, because we expect that something or someone to behave positively towards us. So this means that this definition can be applied to both people, and in that case, we talk about interpersonal trust, and, for example, automation or technology in general. Now, when we think about trust, we need to understand that trust is more of a spectrum, meaning that there is not one level of trust, but we can have too much trust, meaning over trust, that can lead to, sorry, let me move this, okay, that can lead to complacency and automation bias. We will see what that means. And on the contrary, we can end up having distrust, meaning that I don't trust the tool enough. So this can lead to aversion and opposition. Of course, the ideal level is vigilance, meaning to be engaged and healthily skeptic towards these kind of technologies. So, okay. In the case of overtrust, what does that mean? It means that we trust the technology too much. This means that we end up believing that AI is even more proficient than humans, and we end up over-relying on the AI system, meaning that we use the AI system even though we shouldn't be. For example, if we decide that, yeah, but ChatGPT can really help me have a better mental health, well, probably not, and probably we are over-relying on it. In more extreme cases, we could end up with automation bias, meaning that we always prefer AI responses over contradictory information. So if ChatGPT gives us an information and another person, for example, says something else, the contrary, we will trust ChatGPT more than the other person. So we perceive the AI system as superior. Of course, this is an extremization of the situation, but it can happen. In the case of distrust, this is the opposite, of course. In this case, we prefer human over AI, even though AI could outperform humans. And this leads to underuse of the AI system. So we do not use the AI system, even though it could help and it could give us an advantage and help us obtain better outcomes. In more extreme cases, we are confronted with opposition. So we refuse categorically to engage with the AI system And it's a complete opposition. So I don't even know how the AI works. I don't care. And I wish that it didn't exist, basically. Okay. Of course, this can lead to damage as well, since since we are not using something that can actually, of course, give us an advantage and help us help us deliver better outcomes. So as I was saying before, the ideal level of trust is vigilance. It means, yes, I trust the AI, but I know when the AI can fail, and I know how it can fail, and I know how I can balance these sort of failures. I'm prepared for that. So it's a midpoint between distrust and overtrust. It's an attitude of active engagement, meaning I am using AI, but I'm also skeptical of what it comes out with. This attitude is the one that actually leads to the optimal human AI team performance. And of course, it's not an established level of trust. It depends on the task we are performing and on the AI system we are using. So there are systems that cannot be trusted for certain tasks. On the contrary, there are systems that perfectly work with with one task. For example, if you use a calculator for doing 2 plus 2, I trust it because I know it will work. But maybe I can't trust it to, I don't know, write something, of course. Okay? So trust is something that influences the intention to use AI, especially when we have tasks that have high risk, high personal involvement, and high cognitive effort. So, for example, if we are a doctor and we need to decide if we should use a machine learning algorithm, for example, to understand if the patient is ill or not, what's the problem with him or her, then it's a high risk situation. And so trust becomes even more important. I need to have high level of trust in the system. Otherwise, maybe I will prefer to do it myself. When we trust the AI, we are more inclined to use it, but also more inclined to share information, invest more time, and invest more effort in using it. So even though maybe it's failing, we say, no, okay, maybe I can do this and I can change that, and I'm willing to use more of my time to make things better. Okay? Now, let's move on to the second part, so the questionnaire. We developed a questionnaire that basically evaluates 3 elements of trust that compose the trust we have in AI systems. So the familiarity we have with it, the propensity we have to trust AI and generative AI systems, that it's something that comes from, for example, experience, past experience, or even our own attitudes and characteristics, and the perceived system trustworthiness. So how much we perceive the system to be worthy of trust. We divided these 3 dimensions in high levels and low levels based on previous results of questionnaires, and we ended up with 8 archetypes that are the possible results of the questionnaire. Okay, you can see here the 8 archetypes. So we divided high level of familiarity and low level of propensity, end up with the rebel and the reconciled. Then we have the hero and the devout, the hermit and philosopher, the renegade and the sovereign. We can see them in more detail now. So first of all, the rebel. The rebel is the one that has a high familiarity with AI, but low propensity to trust. So at the beginning, he or she didn't really trust the AI. So it took a bit of time, but actually right now they still do not perceive the system to be trustworthy. So they use the AI because they have high familiarity, but maybe they use it just because they want to see it fail. Okay. Then we have the reconciled. On the contrary, the reconciled uses the AI, so it has a high familiarity, low propensity to trust at the beginning, but right now they have been convinced that the system can actually help and can be useful. Then we can move on to the hero, which they are the ones that have high familiarity, high propensity to trust, but right now do not perceive the system as completely trustworthy. So they know that it can help, they use it, and maybe their tendency is to, okay, I can learn to use it so that I can help others to understand how to use it better. Then we have the devout, who is someone that has high familiarity, high propensity to trust, and still perceive the system as trustworthy. So I've used it. At the beginning I was optimist, and I still think it's something that we should use. Then, of course, on the opposite side, we have the hermit. The hermit is someone that did not use it, does not want to use it at the beginning, didn't want to use it at the beginning, and still doesn't want to use it because they do not perceive the system as worthy of trust. So they basically would like to go back to paper and pen, we could say, but it's more of someone that it's a late adopter, so they will need to be convinced of the trustworthiness of the system. Then, on the contrary, we have the philosopher, so someone who did not use it, who is not propense to trust this sort of system, but is starting to see that they could be worthy of trust and that they could be useful. Maybe seeing what others are doing with these sorts of systems. The renegade, we are near to the end. So the renegade is the one that does not have a high familiarity, but at the beginning was willing to trust it, but in the end it got they got like renegade. So they ended up understanding that the system was not really worth their trust. And in the end, we have the sovereign, so someone who has low familiarity, high propensity to trust, and high perceived system trustworthiness, meaning that they have not used the system yet, but they have positive expectations. So they think that the system can be useful, and maybe they are even suggesting other people to use that system, even though they are not using it by themselves. Okay, maybe they do not have time to learn, or I don't know, something comes up. Okay, now this was just a brief overview, and I hope I was clear, but if you have any question, you can raise your hand and I can answer everything you want. In the meantime, at this QR code, using this QR code, you can find the questionnaire and understand what is your archetype and how you can, so this questionnaire's goal is to be more aware of your current relationship with the AI. Also because it can help you understand how it should change or how it could change, or on the contrary, why your approach is precious for other people who are working with you. Okay? Yes? Cosa non funziona? Non c'è staccato.
Okay, guys. No. Okay, guys. So now we have 10 minutes, about 10 minutes for, we leave you 10 minutes for doing the questionnaire. Chiara will also put the link in the chat. So if anyone has problems with the QR code, you can directly use the link. In the meanwhile, I've put, I open a Q&A session here. So if you have any questions for Chiara, please write those questions there. We will be here if you have any problems, but now you have 9 minutes for filling up the questionnaire. If everything went correctly after the questionnaire, you will also receive an email automatically that tells you what kind of archetypes you are the most close to. In the probably there, since you are a lot of people now, there can be some technical issues in receiving the email. So if it doesn't come directly now, you will receive it in the next days. There is one question here in the room, please. Yeah. Yeah, the question if there is there will be allocated any time for discussion. In the end, we will leave 5 minutes for if we want to have the discussion. But since we have 145 people, managing a discussion can be challenging. It's Q&A, yes.
Excuse me, there are two questions here in the call.
Yeah.
There was Xia Mu and me, because I just wanted to know what does LLM means.
What are the questions? Sorry, I don't see them. 1 second.
No, there was a raised hand before.
Here we go.
I don't know. And my question was if you can tell me what is LLM.
Yes, it's a large language model.
Okay.
Yes.
It's the technology is the wide name that is given to the technology. ChatGPT is a large language model.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Sorry, I have a question. As
Please.
shown in the PowerPoint, you are introduce 8 archetype to us. May I ask you, is it the archetype of ChatGPT or another AI or DeepSeek or something? I don't understand the correlation between this. Yeah.
If I properly got the question, the archetypes has been created by us based on result of the literature, considering the main dimensions that differentiate people when trust is involved. We have to be careful here in the sense that trust is something that has been typically studied in a human to human relationship. So what we have done basically is taking recent literature that tries to apply this kind of psychological construct also in human AI interaction. This has many problems as you can think about, but what we think is that it can help us in calibrating and using properly this kind of technology. So the archetypes has been defined by us based on measures coming from the literature.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And Mael is writing, is there any publication related to the questionnaire? Not yet. We have something that we can share with you. Chiara will put the link in the chat. Yeah.
There is a question on the chat. Could you clarify the question? The Gen AI tool state was always clear to me.
Sabrina, I don't know why I don't see.
It's not in the question and answer area, but in the chat.
Yeah, 1 second now. On the chat, here we go. Could you clarify the question? The Gen AI tool state was always clear to me. So while you are using generative AI technology, you always feel that you understand what is going behind the scene. So it's a feeling for you that you know what is going on behind what you see directly in the interface, typically. So you decided to use ChatGPT. In your mind, you have ChatGPT, and that's you are understanding what is going on. You're welcome, Ivan. Then yeah, Daniel has another question. That is, what is your opinion on the reproducibility issue with language model? My opinion is quite strong in the sense that it's more issue is something small. Issue can be okay. We are losing our ability to write. That can be an issue. Reproducibility is a mess in the sense that we are, especially in social sciences, where I belong to, reproducibility is already an issue. With large language models, it will be an even larger issue, especially because we are using this tool for research without the proper training and without knowing what can be reproducible and what not. And the other point is that also reviewers that has to evaluate if something is reproducible or not didn't have the time to train on this kind of technology. So as always, the technology is going faster than our ability to manage and understand it, and this is having is creating a huge problem with reproducibility. Yeah, this is my view, let's say, on economical and managerial sciences, Daniel. I hope that I've answered. Okay, we still have a couple of minutes. Please, Kjartan. Enrique is asking, how do you deal with these archetypes as they depend mostly on the usage case? So it's more than a single predisposition to the technology in general, but to what AI tool is used for what. In this sense, a person could, and being categorized differently, depending on this push goal direct use case. Thanks, Eric, for the question. This is very interesting in the sense that literature here, we try to search for measures identified again by colleagues in psychology that try to identify characteristics of people in their relationship with the technology, independently, not just from the task, but even from the kind of technology. So we can have a predisposition towards technologies in general. So the items that you will see in the questionnaire has been validated in that sense. So it's even the point, it's even larger than the single task, is related to the technology. These open up an very interesting point, because we surely have different attitudes towards different technologies and towards the use of different tasks where we use that specific technology. This is not what we are trying to evaluate here. We are trying to evaluate something that is more general and that doesn't have the ambition of guiding you towards each single use, but the ambition is to give you a sense of how you are positioned with respect to other people when we are talking about the attitude that you have towards technology. The images illustrated archetypes were generated by AI. Yes, yes, Francesco, for sure. We are engineers, we are not artists. So, but if there is any artist that would like to collaborate on creating nice images, we are very much happy. All the boys have high familiarity and all the girls have low familiarity. Where did you see that? Is there a reason for in the images?
Yes.
Okay, yes, it's clearly a bias of the
So I was asking
previous.
me if it was a bias from the IA or if it was
Sure.
a choice.
So I have to force it.
Yes, sure, sure. There is a question here in the room. Maybe you don't hear. Yeah, sure. Thank you.
In front of my positionality, you see the continuum is beyond the distance. And I think that the kind of people you are presenting, survey you are presenting is biased in the beginning because you are starting from the assumption that we have to use artificial intelligence. And the idea the point is to use artificial intelligence in a correct way. Like the point is there are, I think, many other using the bigger dimensions of trust, which are the students we use it, but for example, the promotional things. I use artificial intelligence because it is proven that it has sensitive and political bias. Is didn't add all the parts and sustainability in terms of the usage of energy, the usage of water is completely privately owned in the West. There is no for this speed of development. And from my point of view, that is also not trust. So it's like I have the feeling that the questionnaire it just analyzes the trust once accepted that we need to use the tool. But would it be more interesting to start thinking about is it actually possible that we don't have use the tool? If all researchers using AI, they need, for example, in terms of water, for, how you say, for cooling down, sorry, I don't know the concepts.
Yeah, sure. The sustainability issue, the energetical issue. Yeah.
Sustainability issue, the political balance,
Yeah.
the fact that they go and be regulated. Like, I know if I do this questionnaire, I will be on
You will be on enemy. Okay. Yeah, you. Okay.
It's not because I don't want technology and I want to go back to the case. It's because I think that we need to think much more critically about AI before starting considering that using it is acceptable.
Good. What's your name? Pedro. So I try to synthesize the question of Pedro. I think that you hear. So what Pedro is saying, there is a bias in the question. Let me, so I see if I understood the question. So Pedro said there is a bias in the questionnaire in the sense that you can consider it even before if it's reasonable, let's say, for many different point of view, political, environmental, social, if it's reasonable and if it's also ethical to use this kind of technology. So once you ask someone to balance to help him or her to balance her trust towards a technology, you have a bias in the sense you are giving for granted that this technology should be used, correct? That's a very interesting question, and thank you very much for bringing this to the table. I will try to be short because then we have other, but I think that we can talk about this in later on. But the point is very interesting. Personally, I'm also very much concerned of many of the things that you said, especially the economical part, in the sense that, for example, here, for what we see when we ask the questionnaire, we see that we ask the people, and this is also why you should do it. We ask the people what kind of machines they are using. And as you know, there are open source machines that you can use, and there are also large language models that are privately owned. And 99% of the answers are people that is using privately owned LLM, because they don't even know that there is open source approaches that you can use, for example, on your laptop, that maybe are very vertical on a task, but consume very much less energy. Okay, and this is already, I mean, expected, but there is already a problem here, that it's one step after your problem, that is, should we use it? But even if we decide to use it, it seems like we don't have a choice from using privately owned techniques, usually based outside Europe. We don't know the kind of data that they use. We don't know the kind of model that they've trained. These are problems that we all know. But the problem is that we are not educated enough to know that there are also choices for other directions of technologies that we can consider more sustainable, whatever that means. On the environmental sustainability issue, I'm sure that we are using these machines in an unsustainable way, in the sense that we are asking it questions that doesn't make sense to ask it. Like, for example, give me a fancy name for the lecture that I have to do tomorrow. Probably we consume some energy there, while if we would have been creating that idea ourselves, we will be more sustainable, and maybe we are also losing some of our creativity. So I see a huge problem there. The point of the questionnaire is actually also a little bit provocative. So I very much like that there is this kind of reaction sometimes, because we really want to sparkle this kind of discussion between researchers, while usually the point is just, let's use it, I don't care. And this let's use it, I don't care usually comes from this, and this is my opinion here, the fact that everything is going so fast that we don't even have the time to ask ourselves, does it make sense to use it? And the other point is, my colleague or my competitor is using it, so I have to use it. And I think that this is very, very dangerous. Yes, please. And then we go on, guys.
And thank you for the answer. For all addressing many of the points. But I still think that all the points that you are raising as an answer are implicitly considering that the issue of the usage of generative AI, it's a matter of individuals.
No, not at all. Not at all. I don't think so.
Thinking about it, you see your competitor looking at how individual people is using it, and I have the feeling that this should be a collective discussion.
Totally agree with you. Totally agree with you. It's not individual in my mind, and I'm sorry if this is what passed. It's not an individual issue. I would say it's a political issue, social but political issue, because then we go from the understanding to the action, and the action is political. But happy to talk about it. Thanks for the question. Yeah, Locker, I try to repeat. So Pedro here asked, probably the risk is having an individualistic view from a research perspective, from the way in which we are carrying this research, is that it's probably too much individualistic. The issue is more social, and I totally agreed with Pedro. The point of how to use it in research is not a matter of individual. It's a systemic matter. So not just social, but it's also economical, technological. So there is many things going on there, and ultimately political issue. And this is one of the things I like. The few things that I very much like about artificial intelligence is that it's bringing these questions again on the table. Again, strongly in engineering, for sure. I don't know what's your background, but usually in engineering we don't talk about that, and I'm very happy that he's bringing back on the table in, say, STEM in general. Yeah. Okay, guys, thank you very much. Thank you, Chiara, for the presentation and for the short advice in which you substituted Enkeleda, and many thanks. Let's move on. Sorry for the super tight schedule, but the topic was huge, and we tried to make our best to give you different perspectives. So, second presentation will be done by me, and since we were not happy enough just with the trust point, that is already quite controversial, let's talk about another controversial skill that, again, it's fundamental for us as a researcher, that is creativity. I had the fortune of working with this topic for quite a long. It has always been something of interest to me. And when these kind of models sparkled out, I always think and read things on these very complex relation that we can have or not have with the technology to be more creative and to help us in being creative. So let's try to give up some common ground and try to give some definitions coming from the literature. Creativity is the ability to form novel and valuable ideas, so not only novels. May also describe the ability to find solutions to problems or a new method to accomplish goals. Creativity enables people to solve problems in new ways. So I really much think that good researchers should have also some good creativity, both for identifying the right direction to follow, but also to identify and choose the right methods to solve these kind of problems. Another interesting question that we can ask ourselves is this, like for every psychological constructs, does this really exist? Do we have any proof of its existence? As engineers, and again, I'm very curious to see what the people would comment on the chat. We are used to prove, and this is very much from our background, we are used to prove the existence of things by measuring it. So I always been very interested on the literature related to the huge literature that exists on measures of creativity. Psychological fields of literature, a huge field of literature, studied over the centuries how to evaluate personal creativity. And having a look at these, we can see that there are 4 complementary ways which emerge. And these are divergent thinking tasks, associative insight tasks, judged products of performance, and finally, self-reported inventory of creativity. So if you are interested, you can have a look at this literature. Is huge. But these are the 4 ways in which usually researchers evaluate creativity. The main metrics that we use to evaluate someone creativity is given him or her a task, how many numbers of ideas he or she is able to create, the diversity or distance between all of these ideas that sparkle out, and finally, the usefulness in context. Why this measure actually work? First of all, there is the volume of empirical use is huge, and the way in which these measures has been tested among different contexts has been huge. And if you go around and you get some interest on that, you have many ways in which processes and methods that to measure creativity. Maybe one of the most famous is the AUT, RAT, CAT. These are the most cited one. These are methods that you can find around. This has been tested, as said, in many different directions. So the reliability and validity is usually very high. They are very practical in the sense that it takes few time to test them, and here you can see already some probable issues that we are, again, trying to measure something that is very complex with something that should be practical for scientific reason. And nowadays, these measures are also going on modernization in the sense that natural language processing is also helping in evaluating these kind of measures. What I always have fun is showing you this kind of experiments that are done to test if you are to test how much you are able to be creative on a specific task. This is a visual task. So I would like everyone to do this. Since we are talking now for 1 hour straight, let's take 5 minutes to do that. So usually what this kind of experimental protocol does is giving a stimulus. This is a visual stimulus where you see these two arcs. So let's take only one. Let's take the first. They are all equal, and usually you are asked to create 3 different pictures. Let's do only one. So my suggestion is take pen and paper and write the stimulus that you see here. The two, only the first one. So the two semicircles there. The goal will be in 5 minutes to create a picture based on that. You can do whatever you want. There's a question? Yeah, good question. So the question from here was moving this to line or drawing you can do whatever you want. So you can move those two only. You can finish up the paint. Usually, I don't want to say anything, otherwise I bias. So 5 minutes to do that. Okay, 1 minute left. Okay. So is there anyone that would like to share the result by opening up or also here in person or online? If you want to open up the camera and show us what you did, you are welcome. Don't be shy.
Hi.
Hello.
I don't know if I understood correctly the assignment, but with these 3 semispheres, we needed to create something with this.
Yeah, with only one. So you have the 2 semispheres, and you have to create something with one of them.
Okay, then I didn't understand it properly. I just mixed the 3 spheres together.
But that's okay anyway. Okay. That's nice. Okay. And this is Paola. I see Francesca Carosella opening up the webcam and showing something, but I didn't see. So, Francesca, I think that you have the blurred background, and so it's blurring. No problem. Okay. So let's see what people does with this thing. So it can goes from very easy. You can close the circle and create a sun. You can build a tree. One of the most funny one that I had with my student, the tree, okay, is there. One of the funniest one that I had with my students was the Eye of Sauron from Lord of the Rings. It was very, very interesting. So the point here is that's what psychologists did is giving the sample to giving this problem to large group of people and then see how many times similar ideas sparkles out. And typically what it means is that the more far is the idea that came out from, let's say, the mean output that we as human have, the more the person shows creativity on that specific task. Okay, so it's very, very limited to this kind of tasks. There is not just visual tasks, there is also linguistic tasks. One is always fine to me is the remote association test. So you have 3 words and you have to find the word that connect all of them. For example, and it's interesting because for these associations, we have statistics on how much people is able to find the final association. So for example, if I tell you sandwich, house, and golf, which is the word that connects all of them. So there is a word that relates strongly to the 3 of them. Is there anyone that would like to shout out what's the word that connect the 3 of them? Club. Good, Daniel. Yes, it's club. And here you can see also the solution probability. So we can see that Daniel in the remote association task is 47 percentile of people answering to this question. Then there is things that are harder like child, scan, and wash. Brave, 0.3. Okay, I think it's at least this is funny to do. And again, people in psychology has measured that. In the slides that I will share, you will find many, many other techniques. It's interesting because creativity is complex. Measuring it is complex, especially in the fields that belong to engineering and design. Also, there is very complex because parameters as novelty or usefulness of artifacts are contextual. So these kind of, for example, language association tasks are different if you are measuring for non-native English speaker. That just to take an example. And here, the question that, let's say, on a first instance sparkles out is, can LLM be creative? If we have developed tests for evaluating human creativity, is it even reasonable to use this kind of metrics to evaluate creativity of an LLM? This is a very interesting philosophical reflection, wherever a machine can be creative and that can be associated, or if that can be only associated to human. There is a huge field of research try to understand if and how much machine are creative. We are not interested here today in the sense that if we consider LLMs as a support to the researcher creativity in phases like questions identification or methods identification, can we measure the performance of human plus LLM and see if this performance changes the overall performance or not? But one interesting part to try to answer on how much these kind of techniques can help us in being more creative, to find an answer, we have to understand how LLM work and how their creativity is operationalized. Something that unfortunately we forget is that these machines do very less than what we think they do. Because what they do is predicting the most likely, the most probable next token. So if I prompt to an LLM, a large language model, a series of token of words, token is the way in which we, in NLP, we call the words, even if can be also subpart of words, but let's take word. The boy went to then we have different probabilities of the next word. So the most likely one, in this case, for example, is playground. The boy went to the playground, okay? Then we have park, school, coffee, hospital, and they are less likely to be the next more likely token. When we prompt it, the prompt is the input that we give to the LLM. It takes the prompt and it starts to predict the most likely one word after the prompt. Then it takes the prompt plus the word and the second, and so on, and so on. So it's interesting because what we define machine creativity here is very, very much limited with respect to what we define as human creativity. Because the machine creativity is nothing but a possible part of words. We as human, when we do creative tasks, we are very much more complex because we don't just use linguistic competencies. We use visual competencies. We use smell. We use our memory. We use touch. We use body sensorial approaches to be creative. Given the fact that what they do is predicting the most likely next topic, what computer scientists did to make these machines more creative is to play with this parameter of the LLM that is temperature. So to make them hotter in that sense, to making less probable output of the LLM more probable by changing the temperature. So if the prompt is I am driving a, the most likely answer is car, but changing the temperature also answers that are not very much likely, like elephant, gains like possible answer. So when the LLM is sampling the result, if the temperature is higher, it can give less likely output, mimicking what we define as creativity. Yeah, the temperature is a name of a parameter of the LLM. The LLM has possibilities in choosing the next more likely word. Changing the temperature changes the distribution of probability of the selection. So let's say that if we have temperature 0, the answer will always be the most likely word, that is car. If we increase the temperature, we can say at infinite, I don't know whatever it means, you will have a random sequence of words. Okay. Yeah. The question from the audience was: is it something that you can change as an user, or is it something that the model has it? It's a good question, and it's related to again the fact that we usually use it and we don't know these things, right? If you use OpenAI ChatGPT, you don't have the possibility directly to change this. If you use the APIs, so if you quote and you ask answer, there is some ways to change the temperature. Different machines have different names for this parameter. But yes, you can also do experiment by changing the temperature. Usually while you use the commercial interface, you don't have this possibility. So I defined the LLM creativity as silly creativity, and this is an acronym. Creativity of LLMs, and this is important to remember when we use this kind of system to support us, is that it's a simulated creativity. So it's nothing but a way that computer scientists find to simulate what we define as creativity, which is coming out with something unusual and useful. The next token prediction mimic what we define creativity. It's inductive. The creative behavior bubbles up from scale. So the system was not trained to be creative, was trained to predict the most likely next word. And there is no creative module there. So it's inductive from the training of the system. It's just linguistic. So the model's entire experiential world is text. What these machines see is just the web. They didn't experience the world as we do. This is something that we forget usually when we use this kind of machines. It's latent. So it's a dormant structure inside the parameter, and it needs human prompt to sparkle out. And it's yielding, it manifests only when the model is given an external cues. And it's differently from us that we can be creative, especially when we don't have prompts from the outside, like when we have a shower. Human creativity is very much complex. Interestingly, neuroscience now is also trying to understand how much complex it is and where in the brain or in which of the many parts of the brain creativity sparkle out. So we have very much different processes to create. LLMs has these what I define silly creativity, and it's very similar to the creativity of a person that is new to a field, a new buy. Despite their good performance, human experts are still more complex and more creative. Anyway, what we propose here is that if we use them correctly, we may increase the performance of the system. And the system is the researcher plus the LLM. So the question that we should ask ourselves is not if or how machines are creative. That's, again, dangerous question to ask ourselves. What we can ask ourselves, can we mix our complex creativity with the silly creativity of LLM in a mindful way so that in the end, we can get more creative? So if machines get hotter in the sense that we can change the temperature, my question is how we as human, when working with machines, can get hotter. First of all, you can come to Pisa in summer and you will get hotter for sure. And now we can see that. But thanks to measure developed to understand creativity, we know effective approach to increase human creativity. And these are some of the things that research tells us when we need to train our creativity, because research has demonstrated that creativity is trainable. We can try to reframe the problem. We can work with structural analogies. Interesting, we can work with constraints. So sometimes constraining us makes it possible for us to be more creative. And finally, trying to combine different domains. So let's briefly see them, and then I would like to work on the fourth one. So how much domain combination can help us being creative? And in particular, if large language model can help us when we have to deal with researchers that has a different background than us in identifying common direction. So since we are just have 20 minutes, since I will leave you the slide, you will see some more information on the previous three that are structural analogies, reframing, problem reframing, and constraints. And I want to focus on with you domain combination. So let's take the task of creating a research question. Sometimes it's interesting to come out with creative research question by recombining ourselves with other domains, right? What we see is that creative people does that a lot, and also creative researchers does that a lot. So what domains can we combine to evolve our idea? So my idea today with you to move to the next point, that is human AI collaboration, is to use a large language model and test it for producing a research question. And I want you to do that with a colleague that hopefully is from another background. So what I will do is now shifting up the room, creating rooms of 3-4 people, where what you will do is collaborate for 15 minutes with another random colleague in creating a research question of interest for, let's say, the three of you. You can choose to use an LLM if you want. I strongly suggest you to test that to see what can go on. And when you will come back, you will be able to share with us your results. So what I will do now is creating a group of random person, 3 person each one. And you will have the chance to work with for 10 minutes is too much, 10 minutes with a colleague to do this exercise. And then when you come back, we will have 5 minutes to answering to the last question that is coming out like the one that Daniel just did. So if I create 20 rooms, you should be divided. Okay, people is leaving, so probably even less. Here we go. See you in 10 minutes.
Hello.
Hello, je suis là, mais j'arrive pas à mettre la caméra.
Yes, I'm here too, but I have some problem with my internet, so I'm not sure you hear me.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's
Francesca,
fine.
can you repeat, please? Can you repeat the problem?
Hi, I can hear you.
Okay, I didn't open up the group. Now they are opening. Thank you for telling me.
I think
Now
we are
you
not
should see them.
in a room.
So now the rooms are open, so you should see the rooms. Do you see them? Yep.
Yeah.
So Tabia, hello. I tried to put you in a room. Segna partecipanti. So Tabia, I've assigned you in room 1, so you can go there.
Hi, could you put me in another room, please? I had to reconnect because something wasn't right.
Sure.
Thank you.
No problem. I see
Hi.
2 of you, Tabia. I don't know why.
I just left with the other.
Yeah, no problem. I put you in another
I
room.
just closed the window now, so.
No problem. I put you in room 10. So
Perfect, thank you.
you're welcome.
Hi, Filippo. I mean,
Hi, Erika.
I was in one room, but then the other person already left, so I came back.
Okay, so I will put you in another room if you don't mind.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Arika. I will put you in room 11. Four minutes left. Okay, hold on. I put you in another room.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Quanto eravamo prima? Ma il- Dentro.
Oh,
Welcome back, guys.
Et j'y vais. Ouais, c'est hop.
Role playing.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Okay.
You are back in the main room. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hello, hello. Welcome back, everyone. So I see everybody coming back. Okay, guys. So if you want, you can copy paste some of your questions, some of the questions that resulted the research questions in your chat. And I strongly advise you, if you want to continue to collaborate with the people that you end up with, it can be cool. We have 4 minutes left, and there are a couple of questions to be answered yet. First of all, yes, Ivan put the link to Ivan Zupic, that is my good colleague from University of Goldsmith, put a good conference that we are organizing in London from the 11th and the 12th of September. If you would like to deepen the discourse on the topic, please have a look. It's a very interesting conference, and we'll be glad to see you there. There was a couple of questions on the temperature side. That is this temperature responsible for lack of reproducible responses using the same prompt, Daniel? Yes, it is. It is. It's exactly that. So if you use temperature 0, you are using the LLM in a deterministic way. So these increases the reproducibility. But then the number of tasks that you can use the LLM for is, let's say, limited with respect to the higher level of temperatures. Another thing is knowing that the temperature is higher, you can do multiple run and have that and then finally distribution of answers.
Thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome, Daniel. You're welcome. Okay, guys. If there is any other question, there is a couple of minutes just for the last one. Otherwise, I want to thank you all very much again, and I will leave you a couple of information in the chat if you want to stay in touch. The Details Living Lab as a LinkedIn page, so we organize events like this one every now and then. So if you are happy to, I will be happy to see you here in presence again if you are in Pisa. But I said we are also organizing other online events, and you find the link. You find the link in the chat. So, guys, thank you very much. We had a peak of 130 participants, so it was great. Thank you very much for all the questions. So to the people here in the room, thank you for coming in presence. And let's stay in touch and let's keep up the discourse on this topic at a high level and always be critical towards this kind of technologies, especially when we use it for our work. Thanks again, Chiara, for the short notice and for, as always, saving this kind of events. And thanks, Sabrina, for the technical support. See you soon, guys. See you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. See you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.